history feels solid. Timelines, dates, empires, names carved into textbooks as if the past were a finished puzzle. We are taught that humanity moved in a straight line, from primitive to advanced, from stone tools to satellites. That civilization slowly improved, step by logical step. But there are cracks in that story. Deep cracks. Because scattered across the ancient world are objects, structures, and texts that do not fit comfortably into the narrative we've built. They shouldn't exist. Or at the very least, they shouldn't exist the way they do. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. It has stood for over 4,500 years. That alone is astonishing. But its survival is not the real mystery. Its precision is. The pyramid is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, with an error of only a fraction of a degree. Its base is level within centimeters. Its original casing stones were fitted so tightly that even today a blade can barely slide between them. Each stone block weighs several tons. Some internal granite blocks weigh up to 80 tons and were transported from hundreds of kilometers away. Historians and engineers have proposed ramps, sledges, manpower in the tens of thousands. These explanations are plausible. They are grounded. They are reasonable. And yet, no definitive construction blueprint survives. No detailed engineering manual, no preserved step-by-step record explaining how such staggering accuracy was achieved with Bronze Age tools. The more we study it, the more we admire it. But admiration is not explanation. And Egypt is not alone. In southeastern Turkey lies a site that forced archaeologists to reconsider the origin story of civilization itself, Göbekli Tepe. Dated to nearly 12,000 years ago, thousands of years before the pyramids, this site predates pottery, metal tools, and even agriculture. Yet here stand massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, carved with intricate reliefs of animals and symbols. This was supposed to be the era of hunter-gatherers, small bands, temporary camps, no permanent structures. And yet Göbekli Tepe suggests organized labor, planning, symbolic complexity, monumental architecture. It asks a disturbing question. What if civilization didn't begin with farming? What if shared religion or shared belief came first? For decades, the story was simple. Humans settled down, began farming, and then built monuments. Göbekli Tepe quietly suggests the opposite. And that reversal unsettles the timeline. But architecture is only one category of mystery. There are secrets written in ink, or perhaps written in a language no one alive can understand. In 1912, a rare manuscript surfaced that would puzzle scholars for more than a century, the Voynich Manuscript. Carbon dating places it in the early 15th century. Its pages are filled with strange botanical drawings, plants that resemble nothing known on Earth, astronomical diagrams, nude figures immersed in green liquid, and page after page of text written in an entirely unknown script. Linguists, cryptographers, historians, AI systems all have tried to decode it. No one has succeeded. The text follows patterns consistent with real language. It has structure, repetition, syntax-like behavior, but it matches no known linguistic family. Is it an elaborate medieval hoax? If so, it would be one of the most sophisticated in history, requiring consistent rules across hundreds of pages. Is it a lost language? Or knowledge intentionally concealed? We don't know. And that might be the most unsettling answer of all, because we assume that if something was written down, it can eventually be read. The Voynich Manuscript suggests otherwise. And then there is the machine that shouldn't exist. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of Greece discovered fragments of a shipwreck. Among statues and pottery, they found a corroded lump of bronze. For decades, it sat largely ignored,
until X-rays revealed something extraordinary. Inside that corroded mass were gears, dozens of precisely cut, interlocking bronze gears. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, dated to around 100 BCE. When reconstructed, researchers realized it was an astronomical calculator capable of predicting eclipses, tracking planetary movements, and modeling celestial cycles with astonishing precision. It functioned like a mechanical computer. But here's the problem. Nothing else like it appears for over 1,000 years. No evolutionary trail of prototypes, no intermediate versions. It appears suddenly, impossibly advanced, and then vanishes from the archaeological record. Imagine discovering a modern laptop in a medieval castle with no other electronics anywhere in history. That is how the Antikythera Mechanism feels to historians. If the ancient Greeks could build something like this, what else did they know? What else was lost? Because knowledge is fragile. Libraries burn, civilizations collapse, technologies disappear, and sometimes the only reason something survives is because it sank to the bottom of the sea. We tend to imagine progress as inevitable, but history tells a different story. There were dark ages, there were collapses, there were moments when entire systems of knowledge simply vanished. Consider the destruction of the Library of Alexandria, once one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. We do not know exactly how many scrolls were lost, but we know this: what was destroyed there cannot be fully reconstructed. Some secrets may not be hidden, they may be gone, forever. And that is where the real tension begins. Because each of these mysteries, the pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, the Voynich Manuscript, the Antikythera Mechanism, might not be isolated anomalies. They might be fragments. Fragments of knowledge peaks we barely glimpse. Fragments of civilizations that were more complex than we allow ourselves to believe. Or perhaps, fragments of stories we have misunderstood. In part 2, we step back, because the greatest mystery may not be a single object. It may be the pattern behind them all. And once you see that pattern, you may never look at history the same way again.
In part 1, we examined the mysteries, the impossible precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the pre-agricultural monumentality of Göbekli Tepe, the indecipherable script of the Voynich Manuscript, the mechanical brilliance of the Antikythera Mechanism, each one unsettling on its own. But isolated anomalies are not the true threat to our understanding of history. Patterns are. And when you place these secrets side by side, something emerges, something far more disturbing than a single unanswered question. Because across time, across continents, across entirely different civilizations, we see the same phenomenon: sudden peaks of knowledge, followed by silence. Let's step back. We tend to think of human progress as a straight line, a gradual ascent from primitive to advanced. But archaeology does not show a smooth climb. It shows waves. The late Bronze Age civilizations of the Eastern Mediterranean once formed a complex network of trade, diplomacy, and engineering. Then, around 1200 BCE, that system collapsed. Cities burned, writing systems disappeared, trade routes fragmented. Entire cultures entered what we now call Dark Ages. The knowledge did not slowly evolve, it shattered. Centuries passed before literacy returned in some regions. Now consider the ancient Greeks. They built mechanical calculators like the Antikythera Mechanism around 100 BCE. Yet after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, much of that mechanical sophistication faded from Europe. Complex gear systems of comparable intricacy would not reappear until medieval clockmakers began experimenting again more than 1,000 years later. It was not a steady chain of innovation, it was rediscovery. And rediscovery implies loss. The same pattern appears again and again. The engineering of the pyramids, unmatched in scale for millennia.
the astronomical alignments of ancient sites across the Americas, advanced urban planning in ancient civilizations long before modern infrastructure, and then collapse. Why? Because civilization is more fragile than we like to admit. Knowledge depends on continuity. It depends on scribes copying texts, on apprentices training under masters, on stable institutions preserving archives. Remove stability, and knowledge can evaporate within generations. This is not speculation, it is observable. Consider the Library of Alexandria once more. We do not know the precise number of works lost. Ancient estimates range wildly, but what we do know is that it housed treatises on mathematics, astronomy, geography, philosophy, accumulated knowledge from across the Mediterranean world. When it was destroyed, gradually in stages, that intellectual network fractured. Not because humans suddenly became less intelligent, but because transmission failed. And here's the twist. What if the true ancient secret is not hidden technology, but forgotten continuity? What if civilizations have risen higher intellectually, mechanically, scientifically than we realize, only to fall, taking their advances with them? That possibility is uncomfortable because it challenges the comforting belief that we are the inevitable peak of human development. Look again at Göbekli Tepe. For decades, archaeologists assumed agriculture was the foundation of civilization. Then came a site suggesting organized monumental construction before farming. The timeline did not collapse, it expanded. Our assumptions shifted, and that is how history evolves. Not by replacing ignorance with certainty, but by replacing certainty with deeper questions. The Voynich Manuscript is not dangerous because it might contain secret formulas. It is dangerous because it exposes a limit. Despite modern computing power, pattern recognition algorithms, and global collaboration, we still cannot unlock its meaning. It humbles us, and humility is not something we associate with modernity. The Great Pyramid does not require alien intervention to be mysterious. Its mystery lies in human capability, in what coordinated societies can achieve without modern machinery. But the absence of detailed surviving documentation forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Even monumental achievements can outlast their explanations. We see the result, we do not see the process, and that gap breeds speculation. But speculation thrives in silence. The real pattern is simpler and more profound. Civilizations are not permanent. They are temporary alignments of knowledge, power, stability, and memory. When those alignments fracture, knowledge fragments. Some pieces survive, buried in sand, sunk in shipwrecks, hidden in undeciphered texts. Others disappear entirely. Imagine a future archaeologist discovering fragments of our world 3,000 years from now. A hardened smartphone stripped of its data, a rusted satellite component, concrete skeletons of skyscrapers. Without intact digital archives, how much of our knowledge would be understandable? How much context would survive? Would they fully grasp the internet, quantum physics, genetic engineering? Or would they stand over our ruins, puzzled by artifacts that appear impossibly advanced for their incomplete picture of us? That thought reframes everything. Because perhaps we are not uniquely advanced. Perhaps we are uniquely documented. And documentation is not guaranteed to survive. We assume that digital storage ensures permanence, but servers require power, formats become obsolete, empires fall. History does not erase selectively, it erases indiscriminately. Which brings us back to the core question, what are we missing? Not in the sense of hidden chambers or secret maps, but in the sense of lost trajectories, lost inventions, lost intellectual traditions, lost experiments that never made it into surviving texts. The Antikythera Mechanism survived because it sunk. The pyramids survived because they were too massive to dismantle. Göbekli Tepe survived because it was deliberately buried. The Voynich Manuscript survived because someone preserved it. Survival is often accidental. And if survival is accidental, then how many equally astonishing achievements were not preserved? This is where responsible history must draw a careful line. Mystery does not equal fantasy. Uncertainty does not equal conspiracy. The gaps in our knowledge are invitations to investigate, not excuses to invent. But acknowledging those gaps is essential, because the narrative of constant upward progress blinds us to vulnerability. The ancient world was not primitive. It was complex. It was capable. And at times it reached heights that still surprise us. The secrets historians cannot explain are not proof of hidden super-civilizations. They are proof of something more human. We rise, we innovate, we flourish, and sometimes we forget. The real ancient secret may be this: knowledge is not guaranteed. It must be preserved deliberately, protected intentionally, passed down consciously. Otherwise, even the most brilliant achievements can become archaeological puzzles. And perhaps that's the final lesson hidden within these mysteries. The pyramids whisper about coordination beyond our assumptions. Göbekli Tepe whispers about belief before agriculture. The Voynich Manuscript whispers about linguistic limits. The Antikythera Mechanism whispers about mechanical genius lost to time. But together, they whisper something else. A warning. Not about aliens, not about hidden continents, but about fragility. If entire systems of thought can vanish, if complex technologies can disappear, if languages can become undecipherable within centuries, then what are we leaving behind? And what might future historians struggle to explain about us? That question does not end the mystery, it extends it. Because history is not a completed archive, it is an incomplete reconstruction. And somewhere beneath desert sands, beneath ocean floors, beneath unreadable ink, there are still secrets waiting. Not to rewrite history entirely, but to remind us that the past is far less settled than we pretend. And perhaps that's the final lesson hidden within these mysteries.